Mobile Suit Gundam creator slams Disney's recent output as disappointing and boring. And then he says, the full switch to digital animation has left the company creatively sterile. Dang, off the top ropes, right? He says worse stuff too, you wait. This story comes to us from Spencer Bakuli over at Bounding Into Comics. Feel free to check it out, the link will be in the description. In expressing a sentiment shared by many a fan of the House of Mouse's portfolio of animated classics, Mobile Suit Gundam series creator Yoshiyuki Tomino has revealed that he is not a fan of Disney's near full abandoning of its hand-drawn animation roots, as he believes that their transition to digital has essentially taken the soul out of all of their animated productions. I can't disagree. I mean, you remember the color-changing, size-changing Gundam? Like, look at that hand. Look at that hand. Golly. But you know what? It's got heart. Looks a lot better than this CGI trace stuff that they're doing. The man behind one of the most popular mecha anime series of all time has shared his opinion on Disney's current sterility during a recent interview regarding the current state of his own industry, given the Japanese outlet Tokyo Kizai Online. Sorry, a little quick here. Tokyo Kizai Online. Speaking to the outlet's Yusuke Nishizawa on December 17th, Tomino opened up their discussion by both acknowledging the fact that, quote, the anime industry is certainly in a period of prosperity, and subsequently warning thereafter, quote, however, it is unclear whether this situation will continue in the future. You have to remember, the Japanese think very differently about their language. They're not so spicy with how they like to talk. However, what he's saying is quite dire. It doesn't sound like that scary to what we hear here in the West, because we're used to our like CNN guys slamming buttons that make bells and whistles go off, and then they go, breaking news for real this time. But, over in Japan, it's a lot more subdued. But what he's saying is quite alarming to people. It's very alarming. He says, quote, the excitement may continue for another 5 or 6 years, but that will be it, and it will fade away. The same is true for novels and movies, but there are always ups and downs that occur with the changing times. Works are meant to be enjoyed by people with hearts. So if the world environment changes, the face of culture will change, and the people's hearts will also change. So if we reach the peak now, we will reach a dead end from now on. Again, this does not sound so dire and scary to like us in the West, because we're used to these apocalyptic ways that our media describes things. But for Japan, this is quite a dire warning. He's telling his own industry that this is a heyday. Everything's going great. This is the most popular anime manga has ever been, but it's not going to last. And you need to be prepared for that period of bust that's coming, So here we go. Tomino then admitted, quote, anime themselves will not disappear. It's difficult to say whether there will ever be a better work than what we have right now. Meaning, the market's never been better for anime than right now. And so he's not sure if it's going to continue expanding into this I guess more than global influence it has. Maybe they'll take over Mars. I don't know. He's certainly made a lot of anime about that. In support of his argument regarding the quality of the industry's current production methods, the creator then pointed to how, after the switch from hand-drawn animation to digital, Disney's works were all disappointing. And he says, that kind of animation will continue. And obviously that means because it's cheap and it's easy and it's fast. Following a brief detour regarding the topic of AI art tools, which the creator fears little, as he told the host, quote, the amazing ability of humans is that they have the ability to discern when something is different. I trust that feeling. Nishizawa, then the host, Nishizawa then pressed Tomino for his thoughts on how the industry's profits are currently being, quote, unevenly distributed between production companies, investors, and studios, with the latter usually getting the shortest end of the stick. It's a good picture choice, Spencer. Good choice. In turn, Tomino revealed that, quote, it is neither the production companies nor the investors who make the most money out in the industry, but rather the companies that distribute the videos. That's right. See, the secret to all of this is that they make the anime, so you go out and buy the manga, you go out and buy the DVDs, because that's where the money is. The money isn't in the actual production of it. The money isn't even in the like airing of it on television with ad revenue and all that jazz. No, the money is putting it on a shelf. I'm not kidding. It's hopefully they get into it here. Here we go. He says, quote, "Are these platforms really paying for the intellectual property rights of their works in a fair and just manner? That's my biggest concern. I have thought in the past about how to avoid losing profits from those who have created such a clever system to keep users in a tight circle and prevent them from getting away with it, meaning getting out of the you know getting the money out of the production itself rather than paying the people who made it, right? Like we talked about with distribution, they would be making more money for getting it out to the world, into movie theaters, into movie stores, things like that, than the people who actually drew the thing, directed the thing, wrote the thing, put cut it together on the on the editing floor, And so he says the only thing I could come up with was that it would be to charge the internet signal itself. I know that's not much more than science fiction, though. So he admits that there's really no way to kind of capture that back after the genie's out of the bottle, if you will. And this is the same argument that the Writers Guild of America made, as well as the SAG-AFTRA folks earlier, about how streaming platforms make money hand over fist without having to pay the royalties for all of these views that they get and, the subscriptions and thereof. And so, once again, Japan is behind the US in entertainment. If you want to see what's going to happen in Japan, just look right in 10 years, rather. If you want to see what's happening in Japan in 10 years, look at what's happening in the US entertainment right now. It's an unfortunate way that the cycle works, but Japan's our little brother in almost every way. Taking in his guest answers, Nishizawa then asserted, quote, "But I dare say that it would be a good idea," to which Tomino boldly replied, "But I would venture to say that those who are in a position to do creative work could do without it." Meaning, if you're in the position to do creative work, you're there to create. You're not there to get rich. You made up your mind. Being rich, you can go onto the stock market. Being rich, you can sell insurance. If you're getting into the creative market, you're doing it out of self-sacrifice. It's because the stories possess you, like they did with Tomino. He couldn't get Gundam out of his head. Elaborating on his argument, the industry veteran Tomino detailed, quote, "It has been a year since my workplace has moved to its new building in Ogikubo, as part of the organizational integration of the Bandai Namco Group. But I don't think it's a good environment for creating new works." Attempting to explain the creative sterility of such a work environment, Tomino told Nishizawa, quote, "This fine building is all digitized and over-air conditioned, and as such lacks any real personality with which to inspire its occupants." Drawing a parallel between such sanitized working conditions and the art of digital animation, Tomino then criticized the same thing with the boring work produced by Disney's digital production system today. People who create must have a crazy side, a sense of spirituality, earthiness, indiness. Kind of like our friend Eric July, right? With the Ripperverse. This is the kind of energy that Tomino is talking about. That ground up kind of energy, that person that's uncomfortable with the state of things and has to change it somehow. Not somebody who's just like, all right, it's my job to draw Goku transforming for the 57,000th time into a different hairstyle. It's nothing against Dragon Ball Z, but come on. Everybody's putting in the time there, not exactly a passion. Quote, "If you can create an indigenous work of art in a space with complete control over the air conditioning, I think you should make it." He continued before proceeding to offer up a more concrete example of his sentiment. He says, quote, "When I look back at Machiko Hasegawa's Saze-san, I can smell that it must have been drawn in a workroom where a drafty wind was blowing when the manga first started appearing in post-war life. I think it would be more dangerous to lose that smell. Well, he's not exactly talking about a distinct scent, like the smell of BO and cigarettes, right? He's not talking about that. He's talking about just the atmosphere. When you look at when you look at Tolkien's works, here's a good example. When you're looking at Tolkien's works, you get a certain atmosphere out of it that it's not in a high-tech Apple store, right? You can imagine where Tolkien was creating this in an office with his pipe, and yes, there was the smell of tobacco and probably body odor. I mean, come on, it was back in the day before stick stuff was popular. Anyway, think about it like that from that perspective. That's what Tomino's trying to impress upon you and impress upon the world is that when you have like this Apple store sort of environment where everything is polished, clean, chrome, and sterile, it's very hard to create because there's nothing to inspire you but hard angles and deep contrasts. And while that looks very nice in advertisement, looks very nice in a mall, it doesn't really give the mind the creative chaos it needs to connect ideas that ordinarily wouldn't go together. It's what Gundam's known for, is taking the idea of an evolutionary expansion of consciousness, attaching it to the idea war is bad, and then stuffing it all into a giant robot that looks cool as hell. I don't know, guys. You can check out the rest of the article. The link is in the description. I think Tomino's got a great point here. Let us know what you think down and below in the comments, wherever the heck you write to us, right? Anyway, we'll see you in the next video.